Hey dinosaurs! Today I filmed a few videos with my friend Sam, who you will meet very shortly. We are posting a video, maybe two, together pretty soon, so I'm excited for that. Now, the reason why I'm filming this video is because today there was something that was not so awesome. And this will not be too cut or edited of a video. It's mainly just a rant because I'm so friggin' frustrated at what just happened. So she came over around 2, we hung out, we did our makeup, we did our hair, and we started filming the first video. After we finished the first video, she started telling me about this guy she knows. He's being kind of a d-bag to her, and he calls her like little kid or brat or, you know, like annoying names that are supposed to be cute and like pet names but come off as him being a dick. And so she doesn't like it, and she's told him this, and he says, oh, they're cute pet names, like, oh, I'm just joking. But regardless of the fact that if you're joking or not, you should probably stop if a girl's telling you I don't like that. That's neither here nor there. What I'm angry about is, okay, I met them today, well, him today and his friend. This guy texts Sam and he says, hey, do you want to hang out? I'm waiting to go to a friend's party and I need to kill a few hours. Sam says, okay, how long do you need to kill? And he's like, a few hours, like it won't be too long. Do you want to chill? She's like, okay, yeah, sure. Let's hang out at my friend's house. And I said this is okay. Sam didn't do anything wrong. Then he's like, I'm hanging out with my friends. We're like, okay, so are you coming over? Like, what's going on? Like, why did you even ask if you're just not gonna come over? He's like, oh, you can come over with, like, hang out with us. And she's like, no, you asked me to come over. So this is my opinion on it. If you're gonna ask me to go get lunch, or if you want to say, oh, let's hang out, you're asking me, so that means you do it at my, like, you know, my leisure, because I'm doing you the favor, you know what I mean? Same as if I was to ask you to go to a movie with me, I would pay for your movie. Like, that's just how I see it. So when he's asking her to hang out but wants her to try and mission to him, like, I just don't think that's polite. Like, I just think it's rude. And then to say, oh, do you want to hang out? And then right after we say yes, he's gonna say, oh, I have friends, like, I'd rather not. That was the first warning where I was like, okay, this guy's being kind of weird and kind of a dick. So I should have just told him, like, no, okay, whatever, go hang out with your friends, whatever, bye. But we didn't. I wanted to meet him and I pursued, which I went against my gut. Note to self, anyone out there, don't ever go against your gut. Your gut always knows what's wrong and what's up. So we said, okay, well, we're playing Super Smash Bros. We have 4 controllers, so you and your friend can come over, like one of your friends can come over and we can chill. And he says, okay. So basically we call him, we talk on the phone with him for a bit, and everything seems cool. He says, oh, I'll let you know. So then I'm like, it's getting close to when Sam has to leave, which was at 11. So I'm like, okay, you have until 9 o'clock to tell us if you're coming over or not. He texts us at 8:59 saying, yeah, we're gonna come over. Okay, second warning. Again, when you guys feel something wrong in your gut, just be like, fudge it. Like, I don't need you, whatever. Like, we can have a great time by ourselves. But no, I brought this chaos into my own life. So they come over, it's already like maybe 9:25, and we were in the middle of filming another video at the time. So we stopped our filming, we opened the door, and they came in. So I'm gonna give you like a mental image. Picture a guy who's my friend, like the guy Sam knows. Picture him as a really tall Polish boy, very muscular, very like a pretty boy, but like a pretty boy who knows he's a pretty boy, so it's like not cute. And then his friend is kind of nerdy looking, but he's also extremely tall. Like, one was 6'5", which was the one Sam knew, and the other guy was like 6'3" or something, like tall. Which, I love tall guys, but they're ruining it for me. Don't ruin the tall guys for me. So yeah, that guy looked a little nerdy and he looked kind of cute and quirky, and I liked it. When they first come in, the nerdy guy hugs me, and then Sam's friend, who is a d-bag, we should just give him a name. Let's call him, what's a good name for a douche? Let's call him Paul, like Pauly D from the Jersey Shore. what a douche. If your name's Paul, I'm sure you're lovely. Just this guy, we're gonna call him Paul for the rest of the story because it's easier than to say the douche. So Paul picks up Sam, okay, swings her in a circle, and then puts her down and goes, oh, you're so light, you're like half of what I can bench. Like, what if she's self-conscious about how light she is? Like, that's rude. And two, like, it's just weird, like, to pick her up, especially because her face was like, please put me down, like, this is friggin' weird. So she wasn't comfortable with it. I thought it was weird. He was just like trying to show off how manly he is, and I was just not into it. So we go downstairs and we go to my basement and we're talking, and this guy is so self-centered. The entire time we're talking, he's either like flexing and like trying to look cool or just asking Sam questions. And I'm sitting literally next to Sam, right next to each other. I'm like, let's talk about a new topic. And I'm like, video games. Talking about video games, Paul completely shuts down because he's not interested in anything I have to say. So I'm talking to Paul's friend and we're having a good conversation, and then Paul interrupts and goes, so Sam, like, tell me about work. And I'm like, that's so rude. Like, for the entire conversation you're on your phone, and then once you have something to ask Sam, you're gonna interrupt our conversation? Like, that's rude, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. Clearly that conversation's over. And so they start talking. Then he just keeps asking Sam questions, and Sam's like, oh, what about you, Blair? What about you, Blair? And like trying to get me into the conversation, but they keep shutting me out and like basically not wanting to hear anything from me. And then they bring up something, I'm not 100% sure what it was, but I know a lot about psychology. So they were talking about like, oh, when I see a girl, I just know she's like a bad girl just by like micro expressions on her face. Or no, they said just by like a twitch in her face. And I'm like, oh, they're called micro expressions. It's a psychology thing. And I was explaining it to them, and then they were like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, okay. Why am I even in here? Like, why am I here if you only want to talk to Sam? Like, what was the point? Like, if you only want to talk to Sam, why didn't you just say, hey Sam, do you want to leave your friend to hang out with us? Because we don't give a bleep about what your friend has to say. They bring up something else that's about, you know, like sexual orientation, and I bring up, oh, I'm pansexual. And they're like, what's that? Oh, you want to like fudge pans? I'm like, no. Pansexual is I'm not sexually attracted to any gender. Specifically, I'm just attracted to who you are based on who you are as a person. And they're like, oh, pans, like you want to like do pans? I'm like, you're so freaking stupid. Like, are you serious right now? They were talking about something else to do with psychology, and I start talking, and I was telling them about there's like 5 different ways people express love. And there's like through gifts, through speech, through physical touch. I can do a video all about this, but basically there's 5 different ways. And he's like, what's the 5th way? What's the 4th way? And I'm like, I don't remember them off the top of my head. And he's like, oh, you should if you're talking about it. And I'm like, okay, I'll Google it. And he's like, what would you do without Google? And I'm like, what kind of question is that? Like, that's so rude. So he says that. I'm like, okay, well, you're a dick. And I tell them, once I research it, I tell them what the 5th thing is. He's like, okay, that's enough psychology for today. Basically, like, trying to, like, make me not talk at all. And I'm like, wow. And then they're talking about zodiacs. So I know a lot about zodiacs just because I was interested in it, but I don't know everything about zodiacs. So Sam is like, oh, I'm an Aries, or no, Aquarius. What do you know about that, Blair? So I tell her. And then one guy's like, oh, I'm a Cancer. What do you know about that, Blair? And I'm like, I didn't know. I know my sister and my mom are Cancers, but I don't know, you know, the exact horoscope script, like what it means. So I'm just like, let me just give you a really vague answer. So you think I'm telling the truth, even though I'm just BSing. So I'm like, oh, like Cancer, you're very passionate about the things you like and dislike. He's like, whoa, true. And then Paul's like, I'm a Libra. Tell me what a Libra is. I'm like, I'm a Libra. He's like, okay, just tell me what the sign is. I'm like, okay. Libras are usually very indecisive. They care a lot about justice. You know, I'm telling him about it, and he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay. And he's like, I'm not indecisive, so clearly it's wrong. I'm like, I'm sorry, your horoscope doesn't perfectly accurately describe you. No horoscope perfectly accurately describes anyone unless it's super friggin' vague. Like, you're passionate about your likes and dislikes. Very, very vague. So this guy is just being so friggin' rude. So I'm like, okay, I'm having enough of him. So we were in my basement and they were being kind of loud and my parents were sleeping. So I was saying like, shh, keep it down, like from time to time. But at this point I was just like done. So whenever he would talk, I'd just be like, shh, you're talking too loud. And he's like, okay. And then in the middle of his story, I was so friggin' done with him interrupting me so much. I'm like, wait, be quiet. And he's like, and I'm like, I can hear my dad. And then he's like, oh shoot. And I'm like, stop talking. And he stops talking. And I'm like, Sam, why don't you talk? And so me and Sam were talking for a bit. And then he's like, can I finish my story? I'm like, yeah, you can finish now. But I didn't hear my dad at all. Because obviously I didn't want to hear him talk because he was being a jerk. So, you know, you have to find your own little passive aggressive ways of being a bitch sometimes. So these guys are only supposed to stay until 11. And it was becoming like 11:15, like getting close. It was 11:05 and I'm like, hey, you guys probably should leave soon. They're like, oh, we'll skip our party and we can just hang out here. And I'm like, I don't want you here. And so then they're like, oh, okay, we'll leave soon. 11:10. Okay, are you guys gonna go? Or like, what's going on? They're like, oh yeah, let me just finish my story. I'm like, 11:12. I'm like, I'm gonna grab your shoes for you. They're like, okay. So I grab their shoes and I'm like, put them on right now. I get downstairs. I was so friggin' done with them. So they put on their shoes and I'm like, okay, time for you to go. And they're like, oh, okay. And so Paul hugs Sam. They hug. Paul makes eye contact with me and then doesn't even hug me. And I'm like, okay, like that's happened a few times to me and it grates my skin because I don't know, it just seems like the most common. It's like, you know, a handshake after an interview. It's common courtesy. You meet me for the first time, like, yeah, maybe you don't like me or maybe you don't care about anything I have to say unless it involves you because you're a self-involved prick, but you still give me a hug before you leave. Like, it's just rude, you know? Like, at least say bye. So they go up the stairs, they leave, and Paul's friend gives me a hug. He was very sweet. He was actually really nice. I mean, like, he was making pansexual jokes, like, for way too long, past when it was funny, because I've heard those jokes, like, 500 times. But, and they're always the same ones. But anyways, he at least gave me the common courtesy of giving me a hug, and it was both their first time meeting me, but only one of them, you know, had the decency to just, you know, give me a hug. Like, I'm not asking you to, like, friggin', you know, marry me. I'm just asking you to give me the common courtesy of giving me a hug, you know? Like, it just is common friggin' courtesy. So I'm just really friggin' annoyed because that's just, like, so rude, okay? If you guys, or if there's guys out there watching this, or girls who think you're, like, you know, you only want to talk to your crush and you don't care about their friends, well, guess what? Your crush's friends mean something to your crush. So because he treated me like poop, like shit, because he treated me like shit, guess what? Sam doesn't like you, Paul, because you're being rude to her best friend or one of her best friends. Like, no, that's not how you get your way into your crush's heart. And just so you know, ignoring other people is rude when they're in the room. Like, it's not like I did anything to you to make you, like, hate me. No, you just don't have the common courtesy to just say, oh, what did you think, Blair? Or, oh, Sam, what's your job? Oh, Blair, what's your job? Like, you know, like, asking everyone. And the fact that every time Sam tried to get me in the conversation, you just shut me down. Oh, that's enough psychology for today. Or, I just want to know my zodiac. Or just anything like that. It's just rude. You're a rude person, and you are so friggin' self-obsessed with your looks because, oh, you go to the gym, oh, you lift whatever amount of weight, oh, you're some pretty guy. Like, be quiet. Like, guess what? Even though you're pretty on the outside, your personality isn't that great. So you might be able to get girls to like you by the way you look, but what girl will want to have a relationship with you when you treat other people so friggin' badly? And the way you treat other people shows a lot about who you are as a person. So my life lesson about all of this situation is, 1, treat other people the way you want to be treated. 2, if you want to get your crush to like you, be nice to their friends, even if you don't like their friends, or if you think their friends are uninteresting or unattractive, whatever, just be nice to them. And 3, be nice to strangers, or they may make a rant video about you on YouTube. Bye, dinosaurs! Rawr.